These are the plaintiffs, Kenneth Kearney and Christian Heffel. Kenneth says he and his partner rented an apartment from the defendant, and during their move-out process, while the apartment was still theirs and paid for till the end of the month, he moved someone else in. The sneaky guy tried to double dip. That's not fair. That's why they're suing for the $5,000 they are now owed. This is the defendant, Daniel Beaton. He says there was never a new tenant in the apartment while he was under lease to the plaintiffs. In fact, he still hasn't rented the place and finds it interesting what people will lie about when it comes to money. He is accused of being a double dipper.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiffs rented an apartment from the defendant, claim that when they moved out, they had more time left on the lease. The defendant moved someone else in, so he got paid twice. But the defendant says it is the opposite. He's still in the hole. It's the case of the double dipper.
Thank you, Douglas. Mr. Kearney and Mr. Heffel, you are suing Mr. Beaton, your former landlord, for $5,000 you say he owes you. You start renting there when?
July 1st was when the lease started. We moved in August 1st.
Of 2015?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And you're there for a year, correct?
Correct, yeah.
All right. And then when you're there, or slightly under a year, because at some point you guys find a house that you want to buy.
Correct.
And you ask him, will you let us out of the lease a month early?
Actually, Mr. Beaton had reached out to us in April, I believe, to ask what our intentions were, because he goes, your year's almost up. So he reached out to us, and we had said, we're not going to be renewing the lease because we're buying a place. So we could be out we suggested we could be out as early as June 1st if that makes your life easier, or if you find someone to replace.
And he tells you, according to you, he tells you, I've re-rented it. So yes, get out on May 31st.
Yes. So.
Okay. So you're going to pay until the end of May, and then you start the move-out process, but you leave some things behind.
Yes.
Okay. And then when you go back, when is it you go back and you find items inside the apartment?
So our major move was on the Friday, which I believe was the 14th of May. 14th, 15th, yeah, because Monday was the 16th. So we move out all of our stuff, and I leave a few items that won't fit in the truck. We come back on Monday the 16th. I called Mr. Beaton because I walked in and I saw furniture and items.
What did you see exactly?
I have pictures.
Yeah, let me see the pictures.
Yes. These are all the items that were in the apartment. The only items that are mine are the computer, the TV, and there was a snowblower, which I didn't take a picture of.
So there was an iron and an ironing board, and that's not yours?
Correct. That was in the bedroom.
There was a kind of like a tote bag, a change of clothes, and 2 pairs of shoes, and that's not yours?
Definitely not mine.
Okay. I guess this is a photograph of the 2 rugs, and that's not yours?
None of that is mine.
Okay. And you're photographing the Keurig coffee maker and a panini maker?
Correct.
Those
not
aren't
mine.
yours?
Correct.
And these supplies here, the chips and all that, that's not yours?
Not mine.
Okay. Whose items are those?
I haven't seen the pictures.
Oh.
Thanks. All I could tell you, which is mine, is the, forget what that's called. It's not really a couch. It's like a fold-up thing. None of the bathroom stuff. None of the carpets. I don't recall any ironing board.
How about the Keurig coffee maker and the panini maker?
That's
Who's been making paninis in your bed? This is your place. I'm wondering. You live now, where do you live in this building?
Down below.
Down below in a what?
Apartment.
Apartment. It has its own kitchen, exit entry, everything.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you rent out the top.
Correct.
And you've been doing that for how long?
Years.
And is it zone 2 family?
Yeah.
Because I've taken the liberty of running the property, and it's zoned 1 family, according to the public records.
Well, that's in dispute now with.
Oh. So then they say you don't have a 2-family, right?
Well, no, it's a.
And you say you do, but the records show you don't.
So the question, can the landlord essentially get paid twice?
He can, but I think that's a very immoral thing to do, and he shouldn't do it.
But you think he can?
Of course he can, yeah.
We will talk going inside the courtroom.
Let's talk about what happens here. There's a $3,000 security deposit at play, all right? And what is the reason he gives you for why he doesn't pay it to you?
So the day that he came over, there was a confrontation. You saw the police report. Being the person that I am, before he showed up, I called the Ossining police and I said, I'm talking to our landlord. I've confronted him about furniture being in our apartment, and they
What
said,
did he say to you on the phone, according to you, about the furniture?
what did he say? Oh,
Yeah.
he said it's his and his wife's.
Okay.
Well, and honestly, Mr. Beaton, I know, does Airbnb out of his unit at the bottom when they're out of town on the weekend. So my assumption was that perhaps he was putting items in there so that he can do an Airbnb for the rest of the month to make more money. So Mr. Beaton shows up, and then I said, so Dan, I'm curious about, what is all this stuff in our place? Because again, I wanted to make sure that we had no reason not to get our security deposit back. And now that there's somebody else's stuff in there and he hasn't agreed to that, we're at jeopardy. We're in jeopardy.
So he says what?
He literally said, you want it out? I'll get it out. And you know what? Don't make me, he was like, don't make me come over there and expletive, not nice thing, your expletive self.
So that's when you file a lawsuit, and you're suing for $1,500 because you want half of May because there were things in there, and you want a $1,000 refund for cable internet. So let's rewind that a second. When you first are going to move in, apparently there's an agreement between you guys that you are going to pay how much for internet and cable?
Actually, when we first started negotiating the lease, it was $400 for all utilities. Cable was not a part of it. Then in the process of going back and forth with the lease, he goes, oh, the last tenant paid $100 extra for a month, and I provided cable and internet. And I said, well, Christian and I, we have like high-speed internet, and we watch a lot of channels. I actually even quoted, I was like, we watch shows on Showtime, so we'd need a package that could accommodate that. So that's when you can take over from there.
Sure. So I emailed him. I did some research on some packages, and it's going to cost
You
about.
could kind of. You don't have to give me
$200 to pay for this. So to pay for what we wanted. He said no, that's too much.
So you don't agree. You end up doing your own cable.
Right.
So you end up paying the $100 anyway.
So we were again.
Right.
I
Even though he
immediately.
did. Okay. So you choose to do that because that had been the agreement of how much you were going to be paying him every month because you didn't want a problem with him.
Right. Because.
And now you are coming to court and saying, I wish I hadn't done that. I want my money back. Right?
Not exactly. No, actually.
No. When I say it, it sounds bad. All right. So let me just ask you a few questions. Talk to me about the security deposit. Why won't you return their security deposit?
They didn't pay their last month's rent,
What was the last month's rent?
June.
Okay. Now, I have a text from you saying I found somebody for May, so yes, get out in May. Why would they have to pay June?
I didn't say get out in May.
No, well, hold on. Let's not put words in anybody's mouth. Show me the text. No, I want them in the phone. I want them in the phone.
Can you read the last section of the lease?
Okay. The part that says that any amendments to this lease have to be in writing?
Yes,
Okay, and you're saying that why?
because we don't have any amendments in writing.
In
because
order
they
to make
refused
May the last month?
in
Is that
order
what you're
to-
saying?
Yeah. In order to.
So if you send a text that says the following, Ken, I have a lease and tenant ready for June 1. When is your last night? That's great news. This is Ken responding. We are moving the bulk of our stuff out this weekend, then was going to make sure that the place was clean and tidy for the next tenant by next weekend. Hopefully we can do a walk through with you at that time and arrange key swap, security deposit, and all of the official end of the lease stuff. Answer, okay, sounds good. That you can then later tell a court of law, this isn't writing. So it's not like you're saying I didn't say that. You admit you said that. This is in your text.
The tenant was unable to.
Question, that I understand that things didn't work as you had planned, but that's on you, not on them.
I was doing him a favor
Oh, by doing what? By offering what?
by trying to get a tenant in for June 1st.
And did that guy pay you any deposit?
No.
So then you do them the favor.
No, I
And now
didn't-
you want rent for June because you jumped the gun and your tenant didn't move in.
Why don't you tell the story?
No, I will tell the story because I'm ruling on what you're saying, and that's
I
what you're
haven't
not
said anything.
understanding.
I haven't said
yes,
anything.
this is what you're saying. I was trying to be nice. I was letting them out a month early. But as it turns out, the guy didn't come in, so now I want to keep the security as rent. Let's talk about the many problems with that. Number one, you don't get to keep security as rent because I am not going to help you to keep security as rent when you are not zoned to family. Okay? If it's in dispute now, until the dispute is resolved, and the zoning department, how unreasonable they can be, doesn't matter until they say you are zoned to family, you don't have a right to keep security deposit as rent. That is one. Number two, when these guys act exactly as you've instructed and you've agreed in these texts, and they turn around and they get the heck out and they're trying to get like most of their stuff out, the bulk of the move, very clear that they would leave some stuff behind, your things are in there, enough for a person to live. It looks to me like maybe you're renting the place out in Airbnb. I don't know. Now, does that mean you're entitled to go back on your deal when your deal was you would pay through to that end of the month and that he would then let you out of the lease a month early? Because, you know, you got a good deal when that happened. I realize that you saw things around and didn't like it, but you're not telling me my stuff was destroyed. You're not telling me it was awkward. I walked in and there were two people on the couch. You're not telling me. You're just telling me I don't like that there was a futon and an ironing board. And like, so at what point are you being a little bit unreasonable about that? All right. And with the cable, you're completely out of gas. All that your lease requires is that he provide cable. Okay? And if you don't like cable and internet, and if you don't like the cable and internet you're getting, by all means, go out and get the Mac Dad. No, but by all means, go out and get the Mac Daddy, but that's going to be on you. Okay? You're absolutely going to get the $3,000 because you did exactly what you were supposed to do. Leave when the landlord told you he had it rented out for June 1st.
Except sign the lease amendment.
No.
He did not sign the lease amendment. We were supposed to sign it, and he kicked me out of his house and threatened me.
Okay.
He said, don't come in here again.
Yeah, and as for the rent for the other half of the month, I changed my mind. I am going to award it to you because I don't think he has a right to move in there while you are still paying for the lease. If you want to have a party there, you're entitled to have a party there. And you don't have to have somebody else's toothpaste, toothbrush, and rags while you're having a party there. It's your place until the end of the month.
Your Honor,
since he did that, I am ordering the return of $4,500. Verdict for the plaintiffs.
Thank you.
So the plaintiffs get $4,500 from the judge. Mr. Beaton, I gather you're a little upset.
Now, the law doesn't mean anything. Contracts don't mean anything. The judge does whatever she wants.
What's your big point?
We have no lease amendment. It says we're supposed to sign lease amendments every time you change the lease, you know.
Well,
I didn't even get to speak. She doesn't know my story.
The judge gave you the opportunity to talk.
Oh,
we
yeah,
just
you
didn't
saw
hear
that,
you
right?
point it out. Yeah.
Right. Well, Doug. good
Sorry
seeing
about
you.
that.
All right.
Okay. You must sign some documents with our bailiff. Thank you very much. The defendants are on their way out of the courtroom. Well, you didn't get the money for the cable that you wanted, but $4,500 is not bad.
We'll take it.
At least you're going to get that back.
Yes.
You happy?
I am. I'm glad that Mr. Beaton couldn't just get away with what he wanted to get away with, and that the judge saw and heard the case fairly.
All right. You happy living arrangements now?
Yes.
Everything good? Got the house?
Own our own
That's
house. No
right.
more
Good enough.
landlords.
That's right.
Thank you very much. Okay. All right, Harvey. What do you think?
So here's the thing. If the tenant is still paying rent till the end of the month, the landlord doesn't have a right to rent the place to somebody else because the tenant legally has possession.